group and share out what behavior do you have in common around homework?
We have in common organization and executive functioning.
Okay,
so lack of organization, contributed by executive functioning issues. Where is it? Backpack papers. How long it takes to get started. What am I supposed to be doing?
What's unique about each of your kids? Did I get it home?
Did I get it home? Did I get it turned in?
Okay. Huge.
Individual ones are procrastination, lack of self-accountability or sort of lack of an investment, and then unfinished classwork.
So one of you has unfinished classwork? Only you? You guys all have finished classwork? Wow, okay, I like it. All right, how about over here? What makes your kids the same? Homework challenges.
Distracted and procrastinating.
Okay, distracted and procrastinating. Come on, Carol, join the group.
One unique was a child who stabs the paper.
That's a nice avoidance strategy. Stab the paper and make holes in it. Makes it a little harder. Anything else that makes it unique? Disinterested. Yeah. Homework's not so fun. Yeah. Does anyone in here remember themselves in middle school or late elementary where they loved homework? Raise your hand. If you really, oh my gosh, Keo, of course you did. Maddie, a few of you guys, okay, we're homework friends. Wow. But you don't have those kids. I was not a homework lover, so I'm going to join the disinterested crowd. All right, how about back here? What made you guys the same?
Avoidance and avoidant behaviors.
Avoidance and avoidant behaviors, okay. And what made you different?
AT tech difficulties at homework.
Okay.
And then co-parenting in different houses due to divorce.
Okay. All of those things add more challenge to the picture, right? Kids know how to play those games. So AT tech difficulty meaning too much access to Chromebook?
Just hurdles in getting the tech to work. It's like, well, it doesn't work.
Okay.
It doesn't work for me.
Blame it on the portal. All right, nice. All right, how about you guys?
Yeah, so what we had in common was organization, or rather the lack thereof.
Okay.
Individual ones were focus, executive function, anxiety, perfectionism, and anger or refusal.
Okay, anger or refusal, I really don't want to do this. Gotta hear me, okay? Thank you. How about over here?
Our common challenge was anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and there wasn't anything 100% unique. Sorry, there wasn't anything really. We all kind of had some overlap, but maybe overscheduling. There's too many other things going on. Perfectionism, procrastination, and lack of focus and understanding, comprehension.
Okay. I want to hold that several groups have talked about perfectionism, lack of focus, avoidance as unique things, but it can't be too unique because we're hearing it around the room. So hold on to that. How about you guys?
Yeah. We have in common lying about doing their homework, just simply not doing their homework, misuse of the computer, taking a long time to finish assignments, and crying or getting emotional. And then for differences, we have no one at the house at the end of the day to supervise and manage homework, lack of organization of papers, threaten to take everything away when frustrated, meaning the parent, and meaning me, sorry, or too much or too little homework.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't hear too many parents complaining about too little homework, but there's a lot of parents that complain about too much homework. All right, and we did you guys. So come on back to your other chairs so you can have real seats again. Yes. Okay. gonna talk technology too. We have question time. Yeah, nobody. I've talked with a few people before. So this month bringing up that technology can be a challenge. And I think really where technology is a challenge is its access to the internet, free access to the internet on Chromebooks. And we'll talk about that. What I'd like to, well, this turns off if I don't touch it, doesn't it? There we go. So what I'd like to do for an overview is just talk about what I call the homework trap. And you're here probably because you're in the homework trap. We're going to talk about the difference between cooperation and compliance. And those of you who've been through positive parenthood know that's something that I hammer pretty hard. We've got intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. And so for some of our kiddos, going in middle school, sometimes the power of the grade motivates them to do better. That's this guy here. But for some of our kids, that doesn't hang on to them. And so we'll talk about ways through that. The purpose of homework is important, so if you think about why kids are supposed to be doing homework, we'll talk about that, and then think about, well, is that working for my child? Is that what he's learning from doing homework? And if not, how do we make adjustments? And then the research on homework is pretty clear about what does and doesn't work. And then how do we build cooperation? Because I know you're all here because you have kids that may not want to do the homework that they've been given by their teachers. And so you're wondering, how do I get out of this negative interaction that I have with my child every single night when he comes home? So think about it from the perspective of the child. And I think this is especially important for kind of the 4th, 5th graders and up. That there's this sort of expectation, if you don't do your homework, then the teacher's going to call mom, or mom's going to contact the teacher, and then we're going to add in some higher level of restriction on you, or we're going to monitor you at an even higher level. So maybe it has a negative impact on my grades, and if that's enough, lovely, that's going to turn you around. He learned that in 6th grade, you guys. His parents let him fail a little bit, and as an 8th grader, his grades are motivating enough to him to do his homework. But the child suffers the consequence. But what we have to worry about for some of our children, especially children with any kind of special needs, is that they move into failure. And from that place of feeling like, I can't do it, I always do it wrong, they reach the point of giving up. And that's where we have to be really careful with kids with special needs, is in this piece. Child gets consequences. Parents come in for more support. And one thing I can tell you about middle schoolers is they don't want more support from parents. That's a point in their lives where they're supposed to be getting independence, supposed to be able to move away from adult support. So when the parents step in to do more, the kids are going like, get off my back. So what you end up having is the parent and teacher doing all of these extraordinary efforts to improve the child's homework, but the child's not doing anything. The teenager, and somebody over here talked about, I want my kid to be responsible for his homework. Absolutely. That's where it has to go back. But what happens is, especially with kids with special needs, they get into a negative self-image where they think of themselves as being stupid and not being capable. And that drives, then if I'm stupid and not capable, I can't do my homework, I hate school, I don't want to be in these classes, I can't learn. And then we start getting the lack of preparedness, I don't care, I'm not even going to try to get ready. General behavior problems, and then you see that sometimes our kiddos end up in peer groups that don't support their long-term development, right? And maybe they're making choices around things that we would rather them not making choices around. So we have to think about how do we turn this around to help our kids want to do more of what we want them to do. And that's the trick, always the trick. So this just points out that this increased monitoring by parents, even if you make your kids, teachers have to sign the homework assignment book, or parents have to sign that I saw the homework assignment book, and the kids going, oh my God, now you've made me different, I'm a geek, you're making everyone notice that my expectations are different, because I have to go up and talk to the teacher at the end of class. This is really hard on upper elementary and high school kids, or middle school kids. They do not want to do this, and we have to find a way out of this problem. So if you think about the issue around non-compliance with homework, I'm going to break it out in 3 ways. I'm going to talk about the system that's causing the problem. I'm going to talk about the organic learning challenges that your child might come to why he's having difficulty with homework. And then we're gonna talk about time management. And some of you call that executive function. We can call it whatever we want. But we know our kid, we've got what we think should be 30 minutes of homework, and they're 3 hours later still saying, I can't do it, right? And so that's not an effective use of time. So when you think about a systems problem, and it's always important to go, when you think about these challenges that our parents are having, go back to where's the break, and the break is in the system. There's very little that crosses the homeschool environment, but homework is the thing that's supposed to cross, right? Homework is something that the teacher gets to tell you to do, and then you have to take it into your home environment, fit it into your after-school activities, which there are plenty of other after-school activities, and make your child buckle down and do it, right? Not a lot of those kinds of things that we have to do, because usually parents are in charge of the home environment, and teachers are in charge of the school environment. So it's important to think from a systems perspective when we have this bleeding through the systems, how that causes a lot of challenge. So know that anybody, not just a child, but anybody under threat does not work harder, right? So if I feel like I can't do it, then I'm gonna get heavy, heavy monitoring, and it's just gonna take forever, and I hate it. And you're right, I am disinterested. I wasn't like you, going, yeah, homework. I'm not gonna work harder because it's too much, right? For me, it's too much. I'm thinking, I can't do this. And so the delay tactics, all of those strategies are working for your child because it's reinforcing him not getting started, right? And getting started means evidencing that I'm having challenges. And I'm having challenges in what I should be able to do independently, but for whatever reason your child is not doing it independently. And so you've got this dynamic where the teacher gets to assign the homework, and as the parent, you have to fight with your child every night to do the homework. And know that for most upper elementary, middle school, and not as bad, but sometimes in high school, avoidant behaviors are the natural response, right? That is what kids do. You hit a challenge and you avoid it, right? And that's what your kids are doing. That's what you described when you talked about some of the behaviors you're seeing. I want to challenge you as adults that if you're in a situation that's especially challenging and you have to face it every single day, I want to ask you, are you really going to attack it head on, or might you avoid it as well? So we have to come at thinking about our children from a point of empathy and understanding, which then drives how we relate to them and help support them. So another area where there's a breakdown, what we call the homework trap, is just this whole idea of learning, right? For some of our kids, they're organically motivated to learn. Life is easy, and they just go forward. But you're part of SEED, so my guess is that you have children with some kind of special need, right? And that's where I started as a speech pathologist. And there's a really intense interaction between a child's motivation to do something and their skill level. So if you think about a child who academically suffers, it's not easy, and he's working, he doesn't want to do any of that homework, he doesn't want to practice. He doesn't believe the idea that if I do more, it's going to make it easier. Compare that to the child who academically suffers but is really skilled in terms of baseball or soccer or a sport activity. And they spend all the time in the world on it, right? They'll go to those drills, they want to go to extra drills. That stuff's motivating because they have success. So you have to think about, if success is what drives kids to do more, how do we support our kids with special needs in finding success in homework, right? And part of this, I'm going to say, is a learning problem is learning how to do homework. So I appreciate that I have some families with little kids in here, because I would say from the very beginning, we should be teaching our kids the homework is their job, the homework is their responsibility. I'm not going to be the enforcer, because really what should happen is I should let you fail a little bit, it should impact your grades, it should matter to you, and you should step in. Or I let you fail a little bit and the teacher says, oh, I need to have you come after school, or I need to have you come in at this time so we can talk about this, right? So that we have a natural correction from the person who made the assignment. But as the good parents that you are, I know that you guys are working triply hard to try to